Welcome to Okcoin Live. We're here at Bitcoin 2022 in Miami. I'm here with Gloria. I'm excited to have her.
Hello.
We're gonna interview her today. But most importantly, I want to announce that we've recently contributed $150,000 to Brink to support Gloria's work. This is an initiative we call the Bitcoin Developer Grant Program. And over the past 2 years, we've given over $1 million to support Bitcoin core development. So we're excited to continue that today.
Yeah.
So welcome, Gloria. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you. I'm very grateful for your very generous support and for Okcoin's general acknowledgement of the fact that development work takes time and energy and money.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
it's super important work that you're working on, and we're all grateful for it too. Why don't you, well, for our viewers that don't know you, why don't we just start with maybe a brief introduction and what are you working on in particular?
Okay, yeah. I'm Gloria. I work on Bitcoin Core. I'm mostly focused on the mempool and peer-to-peer areas of the code. My current projects include Package Relay, which should be a pretty impactful P2P protocol change to improve the way that we broadcast and talk about transactions on the P2P network. And my other one is on improving replace by fee, which is a fee bumping method enabled by current mempool policies in Bitcoin Core.
Got it. Do you think regular users of Bitcoin will benefit, or how will they experience sort of some of the work that you've done, Package Relay and also replace by fee?
Yeah, so to be honest, protocol development, like I think we have quite a bit of impact on users, but hopefully users never actually have to think about like what messages are being sent on the wire and whatnot. But hopefully it does make fee estimation a lot more useful or a lot more accurate, and fee bumping methods much more reliable, and thus transaction relay much more reliable. And this impact is felt the most on the Lightning Network, where I think fee bumping is particularly important because you're dealing with counterparties that may or may not be trusted. And fee bumping becomes not just a way to, communicate your time preference on a transaction, but actually a way to get your justice or revocation transaction in time to get your money back from the person who's trying to steal from you.
Got it.
So
there's security implications,
yes,
there's
exactly.
Sort of reliability implications, and all the stacks above, all the users and use cases and businesses that build on top will benefit from your work.
Yeah.
I think I got that right.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Cool. That's cool.
Exactly.
And is there, like, I know I'm not a developer, but in development always, the time is always, how do you view timing of sort of some of these things that you're working on?
Right. So in protocol development, we don't really think in terms of like months. We think in terms of years or even decades, right? So right now I've published like outlines of specific Lightning attacks that have very specific scenarios that are very rare nowadays. But as we see more and more billions of dollars of capital locked into these L2 contracts, and more applications in the ecosystem vying for block space in the mempool and bidding for space, right? Like those scenarios will become more and more common over the next few years, and we really need to be on top of it now. Because also it takes a really long time to make a protocol change, right? You need buy-in from all of those stakeholders.
Make sure there's no unintended consequences.
Exactly. You need to write good code that doesn't have bugs, hopefully, and it's
everyone's got
long time preference.
Speaking of Lightning, our friends at Kraken and BitPay recently announced support. I think it's good to see that
amazing.
Lightning ecosystem grow, but also, again, drives home the importance of some of the work you do.
Exactly.
In years, it does take time, even for companies to adopt things and for users to start using this. But super cool. I was able to pay for a coffee with Lightning this morning.
I know, isn't it amazing?
Super awesome, yeah. And then on the review stuff, like I know you also work on the PR review.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers what that means and what is that about?
Yeah, for sure. So Bitcoin Core is extremely security focused. Like our security model is the highest possible because I mean, our whole thing is we want anyone to be able to join the network and make a payment, right? And we don't care, like everyone's supposed to look the same. It's a distributed system. Anyone can be a miner, and it's intended to be as private as possible. But that also means we cannot attribute misbehavior to a certain identity, and we have to assume that our peers could be adversaries trying to DOS us or eclipse us. And so, peer review is extremely important. So if you imagine like it takes 1 hour to write a piece of code, but you expect 5 hours of review in order to make that, to make sure that it's free of bugs or attacks even that can bring down the network, for example. Which is like, we've caught bugs all the time in PR review that, you know, if it made it in, maybe there would have been something catastrophic happening to the network. So this is all to stress the importance of review in Bitcoin Core, specifically like adversarial thinking. And
it's good to get just more eyes and more people thinking about
absolutely.
it, right?
And the code base is like huge. It's like there's a GUI at the top, and then there's like how to serialize bytes on the wire at the bottom. Like it's just very monolithic. So it takes a long time for someone to learn the code base. And one thing that I help coordinate is PR Review Club, which,
and wait, so PR stands for pull request?
Pull request, yes.
Got it, okay.
Yes, sorry.
Which is like, I guess, trying to make some changes to the code, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
got it.
So I guess I'm doing some PR, haha.
There you go.
So the Bitcoin Core PR Review Club, bitcoincore.reviews, is a weekly meeting designed to help beginners learn the code base and like build up that mental model of adversarial thinking.
Right.
So each week we pick a PR, which you can kind of even think of as an opinionated tour through a particular area of the code base, right? To either add a feature or fix a bug. And then so the host, which is not always me, we usually get people from a wide range of contributors. And a wide range of the code areas, and they'll do a list of notes so that you get a nice introduction, and then we go through a list of questions like, oh, did you think about these possible bugs or these attacks? Have you considered alternatives? Like, what's the performance of this? What's the runtime complexity? And that hopefully helps beginners kind of build up what they should be thinking about.
So there's a training element, but there's also good concrete review that's being done.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
fantastic.
a win-win.
Yeah, and it's weekly, so it's it's good that people get that periodic exposure too. So I'd like to just shift a little bit. Obviously, we've sort of established that your work is beyond my level of understanding and important, and we're all grateful for that, and we love to, obviously excited to support you in that. But like, I'd like to just spend a few minutes and just talk about your journey through, right? We want to highlight the importance of the development, but also the importance of participating in the whole development and maintenance of the Bitcoin Core code base, right? And so you kind of relatively recently, I mean, it's been two years now, I guess. Yeah. So I mean, walk us through that. Sort of, you graduated from Berkeley, and then, I mean, what was your thinking? Why did you decide to do this? And hopefully convince someone to take the same path, right? We would love to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was in college, I joined blockchain at Berkeley. So actually, I learned about blockchain before I got to Bitcoin. Okay. And hopefully people will forgive me for that, because you don't really get to choose how you learn about something. For those, maximalist, like purity people.
I was just like, everyone has their own path. It doesn't really quite matter. But yeah, so sorry, go on,
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of ideological things that introduced me to, and I quite care about privacy and the general cypherpunk movement of we should control our own data. We should not just give our attention and our time, which is our most valuable asset, to these companies that are able to get us hooked on their apps or get us reliant on some kind of controlled feed in order to stay in touch with our friends. This is a bit cynical, but I found that to be something that I cared a lot about. But at the same time, I saw so many of my friends who were blockchainers and supposedly cared about this, go and work for, let's say, XYZ big company that contributes to the surveillance problem. So I guess I had a bit of looking for something that I aligned with ideologically. And Bitcoin just happens to be that and a huge nerd snipe. Like every single day, I experience two things. I often say this to people. Ever since the day I cloned the Bitcoin core repository, I experience two things every day. One is, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so beautifully designed, and I can't believe I get to talk to the person who like wrote this cryptography. Like, it's amazing. And then the other experience is, oh my God, this is disgusting. Like, this is so broken. We need to fix this. Why has this not been fixed yet?
Right.
And that combination, like, just, it's addicting. It's like, oh, I need to keep. Like every morning I wake up like, oh my God, I want to work on Bitcoin.
That's amazing.
Like,
yeah,
so that's why I chose it.
So the first point you made about Bitcoin's values perhaps aligning with yours, the privacy, cypherpunk, and all that. Do you think that's exclusive to Bitcoin? Like, was that something that's, you couldn't find anything else out there that aligned?
No, I don't think it's like only Bitcoin, but it is nice that I got both of those. I found both of those things in this particular project.
Okay.
Obviously, there's other companies out there that are privacy focused that are trying to, both culturally and create technological tools for people to use to kind of take back control of their data and whatnot.
Right.
It's not just Bitcoin, I know, but I just happened to find Bitcoin.
Personally, I think even for Bitcoin, the values, I think, are there. We all agree that privacy is important, and we should, people should take best practices to make sure don't reuse your addresses, whatever it is. But there's still a bit of way to go for Bitcoin in terms of achieving that privacy feature set, or whatever you want to call it, right?
So I think privacy, much like security, is as good as your weakest link. So I think there's a lot of privacy-focused coins where they addressed maybe some chain analysis type attacks, but their P2P privacy is very poorly managed, and it's like, oh, you can tell like what IP address a transaction was broadcast from originally.
Right.
Okay, well then anything that you did on chain is kind of moot.
Right.
And so that's my like rebuttal usually when someone talks about Bitcoin. Obviously, it's not perfect, of course.
My only point was that it's not perfect, and that we all have work to do.
I agree.
That's all. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Cool. And so, speaking of privacy, I know you wrote a short story or a piece. This is, I guess, over 3 years ago now, in 2019, early 2019. You're still in school. Talking about this sort of emergence of a digital panopticon where we're basically subjecting ourselves to like persistent digital surveillance, I guess. Do you think Bitcoin is the answer, perhaps, or maybe a hope or something like?
So I think it's part of it. I think it'll be a cultural movement along with everything, along with technological. And I would consider just kind of there's like a new class of, I guess, products and companies and platforms that are, I think some people call it Web3, some people call it blockchain.
I don't know what Web3 means these days, but
me neither. But I've heard various adjectives to describe this, like, we want to build a new future where, like, it's not just, we're like shoveling all of our data towards these companies.
There's a user-owned aspect to it. Maybe a user-empowered aspect to it. It's still debatable what that really means. I don't think people have really thought it through, but it's a good cultural movement to at least have people be aware, right?
Definitely.
And then take steps.
Exactly.
And maybe the solution is Bitcoin if that suits them, and maybe it's something else, right? Again, like you said, depends on.
It'll require a lot of maybe changing the way that we live, or at least changing the way that we think about things. Like, I often say that we have this very warped, at least my generation has this very warped sense of what free means. And they're like, oh yeah, there's this new app where like you can do this and you get these free things, and all you have to do is like turn on location services all the time and have your mic on and your access to your photos and whatnot. And I'm always like, okay, look, if it's free, then you're providing the product, that. There's no free lunch, right?
Exactly,
like you are
You're
providing
being
the value.
monetized. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, but it's so convenient. I get to find out about new products. Like, but I think people very undervalue this freedom, And I think we see it more and more. At some point I realized, right before I wrote that article or story or whatever, like I had a Facebook account since I was like 12 or something. And so all of my political opinions were based on like news that was fed to me.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, obviously I looked things up and, you know, but like sometimes I can sympathize with people with wildly different political views if I can see the sources that they got to that point, right? And so like my brother is 9 years younger than me, and I'm sure he's gonna grow up like never having, you know, like his entire social media and like media that he consumes is almost like controlled by a few companies, right?
Totally, yeah.
Like even Google searches are not like objective results,
There's
right?
an interesting thing where if you go to do the same search in different countries, you get completely different results.
Exactly.
Even the maps and everything, it's crazy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
So your reality is very much shaped by who's providing you that information.
Yeah.
So have you had a chance to talk to have you explained to your brother what you're working on?
I have orange pilled him a little bit.
Oh, cool, nice, yeah.
So he's 14 and he's in the exploring phase, and so I don't begrudge him for not going all into Bitcoin immediately.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly is like the cultural aspect.
Right.
Where like I don't want him to just chase after money, for example, or have absolutely no morality when it comes to what he creates. Like, you know, like these are kind of
just have to be
things.
aware so you can make those choices for yourself. If you're willing to give up your data for free, then that's on you, right? Like as long as you're aware, I think, I personally, I think it's really making people aware and then giving them that choice, what they choose to do, whether it's use something that's better, up to them. Yeah. Okay. Well, great. I'm gonna wrap it up. I think we're close on time, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, for sure.
Hopefully, in a few years, maybe we'll be interviewing your brother. Maybe I don't know. That would be very cool. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us here on Okcoin Live, Gloria.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Oh, but one more thing before we leave. We like to play this little game called "Okay or Not Okay," and so I'm gonna ask you a few quick questions, and you just give a thumbs up.
Okay.
This is okay.
Or thumbs down. Well, here we go. You ready?
Okay.
You got it? Okay, we're going to start with some easy ones, maybe. Pineapple on pizza. Okay or not okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right. I'm cool with that.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. What about face tattoos?
I have a face tattoo, actually.
Okay.
My eyeliner is tattooed on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
Nice and convenient. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Selling your Bitcoin.
Again, do what you want with your Bitcoin.
I'm with
That's
you.
the whole point of Bitcoin.
I'm with you.
It's freedom.
Do whatever
what
you want. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Use it however you want to use it.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Remote working.
Very big fan.
Totally.
Big fan.
We're also hybrid, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
How about this one? Social media for your kids.
I feel like ask them, and
Where do you draw the
they
line,
should make
though?
their own social media,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Following billionaires' jets on Twitter. I don't even know what that's about. I think someone put a app where they track the billionaires' jets or something.
Okay, I've never seen it, but following an account seems all right to me.
All right. Let's go down a little bit more. Bitcoin maximalism.
Ooh, that's a tough one. It depends on how you define maximalism. I think my definition is this kind of like narrow-minded, like immediate shutdown of anything that's not Bitcoin, and I don't think that's productive. Like even if you are, even if you are a Bitcoin maxi because you believe in its values and you find that it's real. I mean, I personally am often disgusted by how many scams there are, and they just keep evolving in name, and every year there's just more and more scams, right? And we just call it something different. But even then, like, I think the narrow-mindedness and the gatekeeping of like, oh, you're not a real XYZ, or like, I don't think you're smart because I disagree with you. Like, I think that's that's toxic and not cool. If it means like, oh, standing up for the beliefs of Bitcoin and being like, okay, I don't agree with this coin or this platform because they had a 90% pre-mine
Right.
and it takes $2,000 a month to run a full node.
Right.
Like, and I don't agree with that
Yep.
because that's not something that I find valuable. That's cool. Like, I agree.
Yeah,
Stand up for your
exactly.
values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think
Yeah.
it's the negativity that's sometimes a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
Though I think we certainly agree with a lot of the values. We're all on the same page. Actually.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, cool. And then on that note, NFTs. What do you think?
Okay. Do what you want. I think there's way too much. I consider it kind of like there's scams in there. Like,
Sure.
consume responsibly.
Also good. Yeah.
Yeah, like it seems relatively harmless. I think a lot of people kind of blow it up into this. They blow it up into more than what it is.
Sure.
And I'm not really interested in speculating value of assets.
Yeah.
I don't find that to be a valuable use of my time. I've been following Beeple for a really long time because I really like animation and digital art, and I think Beeple's amazing and funny.
I mean, he's done some cool stuff. Actually, I think a lot of artists have done cool stuff. I think we're trying to figure out what that really means, right? There's a speculative part, but there actually are people that appreciate the work, like you just highlighted.
Yeah, I think like people are often overpromising what it means legally to own an NFT, or like
We'll figure
how
it all out.
decentralized
We'll find out
it is.
soon. Yeah.
But again, do what you want.
Okay, so was that a thumbs up or thumbs down? I saw both.
Okay, I'll do both.
That's fair. That's fair. And we'll end it there. I mean, I try to end with the tougher ones. Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you.
Thank you again
all
for
right,
having
thanks.
me.